And it's another virtual talk at iOS platform. iOS main objective is to showcase women entrepreneurs, products and services. And so we also want to give you the opportunity to know them and for sure to give you the demonstration of what they are specialized in. Today, I have invited the founder of Chibi and Balance, and she will give us a talk about breaking free from ego trap. She is naturally gifted and qualified holistic guide and master teacher with strong clairsentience and claircognisance. She has a powerful connection with her guides and uses her knowledge and wisdom from being trained in over 30 different modalities to help other clients explore new possibilities in their areas of challenge and growth. She also operates from knowing that every person has the ability to overcome any challenge that they are faced with once they learn how to tap into the master teacher that lies within each of us and uses this wisdom in all her courses and sessions. She brings in the holistic body, mind, heart, and energy approach to her clients. Please welcome Sharroll Mathias. Good afternoon, Sharrol. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us today.
Thank you for having me, Cardella, and amazing platform. And thank you for that introduction. Amazing. Yeah, so welcome to all you guys for joining me in today. Because now what I do as I'm an evolutionary mindset specialist. So what I focus or I specialize in is helping people change mindsets from whatever mindset that has put them in a stuck position in life to try and evolve from it and to become better. And because everybody has their own answers within them, right? Because no one knows your life more better than you. All the answers are there, but the only reason people get stuck is because they do not know how to tap into those answers that they have within them, and they do not know how to bring it out into the forefront, which will help them to move forward in their life. So this is one of the ways that I do it but just by talking about different mindsets, different signs, and how to break free from those signs so that you do not operate from those old mindsets and old thinking patterns again and again, and then keep pulling yourself back into a cycle. Now, all of us that are in here, how many of us have basically realized that we have been living or we have been facing patterns in our life which keep on repeating over and over again? Like, say, for example, if we are facing heartbreak, we have similar patterns. Constantly, we are facing heartbreak in different areas in our life, or if we are facing anger issues, just basically identifying different patterns. How many of us have identified patterns in our life here? Just if you can raise your hand. Yeah. Okay. Ashley, Cardella. Yeah. So for the other two whose videos are not on, I think there is a button there where you can show your hand, I think, or on those. So when we are in a pattern, when we are constantly stuck in a pattern, it means that we are not evolving, or we have not learned the lesson that we were meant to learn from experiencing those experiences in that particular time frame. So what is the lesson? Why is the lesson more important to us? Because the lesson is required for growth. The lesson is required to have a evolved mindset of where we are at the current time frame. Now, if we don't understand the lesson the first time, what I would say is the universe. Now, for me, I use the word universe, source. Many of y'all have religious background, so y'all can just switch it in your minds with the word God, or higher authority, whatever you believe in, right? So for me, for the purpose of this, I will say universe and the energy of the universe, right? So what happens is the universe is trying to tell us we want to evolve, we wish to evolve. We wish to have a higher understanding of who we are as people on earth. What did we come here to do? What did we come here to identify in ourselves? So we, all of us have come when we were babies. We have all been in this blank slate of a canvas, right? We all were full blank. Now, as we grow up between the ages of 2 and 7 years old, kids usually operate from a theta brainwave. So what is a theta brainwave? It's just basically a frequency that the brain vibrates at during those particular years, which activates everything to go into your subconscious mind. Now, your subconscious mind makes up the massive majority of your consciousness, right? So during that time, kids absorb everything, whether it is things that are said to them, whether things that they feel, things that they can see, things that they can hear, things that they observe in their vicinity, and all of those experiences go into their mainframe. So that becomes like an operating system in their mind, and that basically creates how their life is going to turn out in the later stages, because those belief patterns are your it's what you call as it's your main mastermind, right? So it's a list of rules and beliefs that you have. So based on your rules and belief, that brain is creating a reality for the future of how they have to operate and how they have to do. Now, some belief systems are very helpful. They help us to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. They help us to achieve things like competitiveness and some things like that. But some of those belief systems are not very helpful, right? Now, one of those belief systems that are not very helpful are those to do with the ego or the ego mindset. It's what I call as the ego trap. So that is what we will be focusing on today. So with regards to the ego, we have to maintain balance in everything. So any of y'all over here who believe that we need to shut down the ego completely and keep it aside? No?
Guess so.
You guess so, but there is, okay. So I believe that there has to be a balance, because the ego can work for us and they can work against us too. So when we maintain a balance with the ego and with our spiritual self or higher self, as some of us may call it, we are able to understand, because remember that ego part of ourselves also helps us to understand self-value. So if we shut down ego completely, what happens? We become victims. So if we take ego to the other extreme, we become very egotistical, controlling, dictatorial. So you see, very entitled, we feel all of those emotions. So how do we bring the ego into balance? Now, some of the signs of the ego will be is you feel that you are the only one who can do the job. Like sometimes when you're working and you feel like only you can do it the best way possible. No one else is able to bring in that kind of a commitment or 100% the way you can. Now, these are some of the thoughts and signs that show that we are operating from an ego where it is a little bit on the higher end, right? So, if you look at the number line, you have the number line in the middle is 0. And then you have negative 1, 2, 3. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the positive numbers, right? So we have to always try to bring ourselves to the center, which is 0. So too less of something and too much of something is also equally bad for us. So with the ego, why do we have to bring it into the center is because we need to value ourselves. We need to value ourselves as people. We need to value ourselves as individuals who are empowered to do, and we are capable of doing a lot of things. We deserve a lot of things. We are worthy of a lot of things in life. We are worthy for abundance in our life. We are not one of those people who are operating from lack. Right? When we operate from lack, we operate from a space of victimization, or we don't feel we are worthy, or we don't feel we are needed for this kind of a things. So another thing is people who have got a higher range of ego often tend to like people who only say yes to them. They don't like anybody who can contradict their ideas, or who challenge them or helps them to, or critiques them in a positive way. So these are some of the signs of a person who's got ego on the higher end. So we need to bring that back into balance. So they don't like people who kind of disrupts them or says no all the time, or basically challenges their ideas and opinions. So the reason why I'm going through these signs is because I want you all to reflect on each of them. Now, I know a lot of them might be very difficult to realize, but if you truly want shift in your life, you want a change in your life, you don't have to tell them to me, but you can at least reflect on it and be authentic with yourself. Be authentic with who you are as a person. You just have to be honest with yourself whether this really is applicable to me. So, because only when we identify that there is an issue with us or in our behavior, we are able to make that shift. And when we make that shift, we start opening up energy towards us for receiving, and we start receiving much more. And we no longer operate from the energy of stuck. So we don't feel that stuck feeling anymore, right? So another sign of the ego is those people constantly tend to blame anything that goes wrong on other people. You know, they don't like to take accountability, responsibility for their own actions, for what might have gone wrong. So they always like to find and put blame on others. So because they cannot handle it, they cannot handle the fact that, okay, you know what, I have to be accountable for my own actions. They always believe that they are fall is for the sake of others. So this is another reason why people have issues, or these are the signs that people have egos a little bit on the higher end of the scale rather than being in the balance. Then have you all heard of the entitlement or the pedestal mentality? Anyone has heard of that?
You heard it?
No? Okay. So entitlement and pedestal mentality means that the rules don't follow for you. Everybody else has got the rules and the applicability for the rules apply to everyone else, but those same rules do not tend to apply to you. So you believe that you, or a person with an extreme massive ego, believes that the rules don't apply to them and they can do whatever they want. So even if it means standing in line, waiting for a checkout of your grocery items, and suddenly it's like their problems are real, they are constantly in a state of emergency, and they'll be like, excuse me, can I cut through? And can I cut through? I'm really, really in a hurry. I have a meeting to attend or something. And, you know, they'll come up with those excuses. And in reality, it is brushing their ego because they don't want to stand in line. And to be honest, if they truly were in a hurry, unless given a very urgent state or a reason, like say if the lady is pregnant or if the person is disabled or something, I can understand that. But if you're late because to a meeting, and you're standing in line at some checkout place trying to get a cup of coffee, that means the person did not plan their time right. And that means that they believe that other people's time is of this value, so their time is more valuable in their own way. So this is a sign that says that they don't give a regard. They don't regard other people's time. So these people who have a little bit of a ego on the higher end, unless for a genuine reason, they don't even show up to meetings on time because they don't respect other people's time as well. Right? So it's very important to respect a person's time, because if they are taking the time out to meet with you, you also need to take the time out to meet with them. So this is another sign of people who have got ego and these are the ones with a pedestal or an entitled mentality. So they believe that they are higher or above other people. Another thing that is a sign of ego mentality is a person would rather want to win at something than doing their best at something. You know, there is a difference here. Winning at all costs not looking at what you have to do to win, but instead of doing the best that they can. Like when there is a competition or when there is a project to be delivered at the office, they just want to win the project without having to put in the best efforts that they can. They, even if it means stepping on a few people, if it means sidelining a few people, they don't really care. So these are a few signs of people who have ego on the higher end. Now, another one is if they feel very jealous, or they feel like if somebody else wins, right? If somebody else has won, they cannot come from a place of neutrality and saying, you know what, you deserve to win. You've put in your best effort and you are rightly the best winner in this certain thing. They cannot do that. They kind of throw around passive aggressive tantrums, and they do not wish to, you know, acknowledge at all times. Like they might be like, oh yeah, great, you won, but you wouldn't feel it, right? So these are a few signs, and and people with ego also throw out a lot of what you say, passive aggressive tantrums, which means that if they will not tell you they are angry with you, or they are upset with you, they will just either not want to talk to you, or they will want to ignore your emails or ignore everything suddenly of what you are sending, because you suddenly won something, or you got something that they wanted. Right? So these are a few signs. That ego is a very vast topic. These are just a few signs of the ego, and what we have to basically identify with. Now, how do we break free from this ego trap, and how do people, or how do we basically associate with people from the ego? Now, in order to do this, we first have to identify where is the ego coming from. Now, the ego comes from a place of lack. At least too much of it comes from a place of lack. Why are they in that zone of constant control? Why are they in that zone of constant attention seeking? Why are they in that zone of entitlement? It's because there was a point in their lives, most probably from where their subconscious mind developed. That means between the ages of 2 and 7, they have experienced either two extremities of an experience, which means either they were sidelined when they were that young, and it formed a limiting belief that says to them that, you know what, if you allow people to walk all over you, they are going to just put you at the side. So that is the reason why they now push their way forward to constantly be in the front of everything. And the other extremity is that when they did try to voice their opinions when they were young, or they did try to speak their mind out, they were ridiculed, or, you know, they were laughed at or something like that, maybe by their peers, their friends. There can be a majority of experiences that could have inbuilt or inculcated the ego to take a boost in their current personality, right? So how do we break free? The first thing we do is we do not judge those kind of people. It's very difficult to come from that place of non-judgment. But if we take a different perspective, say if we are approached by someone who is very egotistical, instead of seeing them as, are they trying to put me down? Are they trying to affect me? Or are they trying to take away my sense of happiness? Instead, look at it from a point of view that, you know what, they probably faced something really terrible that has shaped them up to be this way today. They have gone through certain life experiences that could not help them, or could not help them to understand the learning behind whatever experiences they've come from. So we'll have to take out compassion for them and approach them with more love, because if you try to beat ego with ego, it's just going to be a constant battle. It is not going to break. It is forming another cycle and a pattern in your life as well, and you start getting bound by that cycle and that pattern, because indirectly you are also showing the universe that you are not learning as well the higher learning or the lesson behind how to break ego. Now, when a person is egotistical, they crave more love. Rather than attention, they actually crave more love. So when we start acknowledging that aspect or the things that they really like, or you like about them. So say, for example, they've done an amazing job, right? They've submitted a project, they wanted to win, and they have done whatever they had to win it, because obviously they were operating from ego. But instead you come around and you say, you know what, I really appreciate the way you looked out for other people, and I like the fact that you did not do XYZ to put someone else down. Now they may have done that, but when you're doing a positive reinforcement to somebody, you have to identify what they did in order to get there, the good stuff. So if they have not put anybody down or they did not sideline somebody, you acknowledge that what they did. You don't have to acknowledge just the overall project. Now this can apply to even our kids. So say if our kids got 100% in school, or they got really good marks, they got 80% or 90% in their school grades, you reinforce the positive behavior that they did in order to get that 80%. So it's like, oh, you're an amazing child, you're so smart, you're so this, you're so that. But then later on in life, if they're not getting that same 80% of marks or 90% of marks in their schooling, they will think, oh, I'm not smart anymore. So instead, what you can say to your child is, I love the hard work that you put in to study, and I love the fact that you took in so much of an effort to prepare yourself for this examination. And because you have put in so much of hard work, you were able to get 80 to 90% in your marks, in your studies. So tomorrow, if they do not acquire 80 to 90%, their child starts to think, oh, it's not because I'm stupid or not because I'm not smart anymore. It's because I didn't put in the hard work. So then they have an idea that they have to put in, if they want the 80 or the 90% again, they have to put in the hard work again. They have to put in the effort again in order to reach that. So it becomes a goal that is attainable for them, rather than thinking, okay, something's wrong. Percent, I don't understand why. Am I just become dumb? You know, so a lot of the time as parents as well, or even as a manager or as a person who is in charge of other people or other people in their circle, it's nice to acknowledge the behavior ethics of a person rather than acknowledging the overall project, right? Tell them what they did right, speak to them about the things that they've done wrong, and see how y'all can come up with solutions on how to improve on the things that they did wrong. So say, for example, somebody sidelined another person at work, so in order to win at the project attainment, right? So you can sit down with them and say, I love the fact that you've done an amazing job with the project. I love the fact that you did your research behind it. I love the fact that you researched your competitors, you researched what is out there in the market. I love all of that. But but there are some things that I'm not very happy about. So it's called the praise sandwich. Have you all heard of the praise sandwich? Yes? Okay. The praise sandwich is basically you identify good points of a person. Okay. You identify it, you acknowledge it, and you agree to it, and you come to that conclusion. So they actually are feeling really happy that they've done all of those things. And in the middle, the sandwich, the main meat of the part is you identify the things that they could improve. Not what they did wrong, but what they could improve or how they can do better. Because there is a difference between saying this is what you did wrong and this is how you can improve. A person, when you tell them that they did something wrong, they immediately become defensive and they don't wish to take on anything. But if you start and say and identify with them and say, okay, you know what, I love this about you. These are aspects that I think you can improve on, and let us work together and find solutions on how to work and how to improve this for you. What do I need to do in order to help you improve on these XYZ things? And then the last part of the sandwich is, again, you identify, I love the fact that you're learning. I love the fact that you're improving yourself. I love the fact that you're taking the next steps, climbing on, so that it shows that you are a person who wants to grow into the company, or you are a person who wants to achieve those higher goals, and I'm really happy about it. So you end again on a good note. So you talk about the good stuff that they've done. Then in the middle, you talk about things that they can improve on and how you can support them in their improvement. And the last one is talk about all the good efforts that they've also done again so far, and continue to praise them. So that's called the praise sandwich. This is a lot of entrepreneurs take on when kind of speaking during performance management time to their employees. And also we as parents, or if a lot of parents are here tuning in, we can use this even for our kids, because our kids now have a kind of a pathway to follow, and they know what behaviors that are appreciated, they know what behaviors that they need to improve on as well. So we can apply it in all places of our life, right? So another way is when we are basically engaging with somebody who's got a very high ego, in terms of, or we have identified in our perspective, they have a very high ego, or because one of the signs is that they always have to be right. They cannot be wrong in any way. What I would recommend to you in terms of that is, do not engage in you trying to be right as well. When they are trying to make that point of being right, they are in a space or in an energy where they cannot receive information at that point in time. They are very defensive, their walls are up, there is no way of breaking through. So instead, what you can do is, okay, let's agree to disagree, or maybe that's your perspective. I appreciate your perspective, acknowledge them again, acknowledge their perspective. And then at the same time say, how about this other perspective? I was also thinking about it. You see, you are slipping in your perspective without them having to put their guards up and saying, no, I don't agree with you. When you do it this way, they don't put the guard up, and you are actually able to have a conversation with them and maybe even shift their perspective a little bit, because you're doing it with acknowledging them first. Amazing, I appreciate your perspective on this. I believe that you have got amazing insight on that. I do, however, have another perspective, and if you're willing to listen, or if you're willing, I can share it with you. If you do something from a point of sharing, they will actually allow you in, and they will start to hear it. So when you talk, you have to shift it from a place of, you know what, I love your point, now listen to my point. If you do it from that way, they are going to walls up. But I love your perspective, I love your opinion, I do also have another perspective on the same matter, I would like to share it with you. Are you willing to listen? Because a person who is operating from the ego wants acceptance in life. They want to be acknowledged, because at some point in their time, when their limiting belief was put in there that no one accepts you, or your point or your opinion is not important, that is probably the limiting belief that is there in their head. So you have to operate from a place of accepting and acknowledging their opinions as well. And then let's share ours too. So when they feel that comfort, okay, you know what, this person is receiving me, so let me do a little bit of a step and let me receive them as well. They automatically tend to do that. Now, another one is, what you can do is, a person who is operating from the ego side in terms of goals. Now, goal setting has evolved a lot, and I'm not quite sure how much you all are aware in terms of recent times because of the pandemic. A lot of people have had so much time to, so from Asli, give and receive in the art of communications, exactly, give and receive. You have to be able to give and you have to be able to receive as well. So during the pandemic, a lot of people have had a lot of free time to reflect. You see, They've had a lot of free time to reflect on what is their current legacy, what are they doing in the world at the moment, because the whole world went on shutdown. The whole world went on a pause. So a lot of people actually started getting this free time, which they didn't have before because they were going to work constantly and it was a constant routine. They didn't have the time to pause and reflect. So even when they go on vacation, it's like if it is a family, we all know as moms or dads or of who have family, it's a vacation is not really a vacation unless it's to a country that none of the relatives exist are in that particular country, because if there are relatives there, it is not vacation. So but if for all the single people out there, if you'll go on a vacation, yes, you'll do have, or you'll do tend to have more time to reflect on yourselves. But a lot of us who are entrepreneurs or who are families, they always are thinking about how to grow their business, but not very rarely they reflect on themselves, right? So this huge pause which the pandemic brought in allowed a lot of people to go into a state of reflection and understand what are they actually doing with their lives. Are their lives actually helping other people? Are their lives impacting other people? Are their lives beneficial towards their own self growth, self valuation? So when they started operating from here, their goals started changing. Instead of their goals being, oh, I want to become a multi-billionaire or I want to have the most amazing, it actually started reflecting around experiences of emotions. I want to, yes, they might have already acquired millions and they are amazing at their jobs, they are amazing at what they're doing, but are they truly happy in their lives? Are they able to find that joy of living every single day? When they wake up, they breathe in and they be like, grateful, thank you so much for giving me another day. So you see, when the whole world was hit on a pause, they started to reflect on all of these things. So a lot of people started awakening to understanding that their ultimate goal is experiences. What kind of experiences they have in their life that is going to make them feel fulfilled. Because when they reach the ripe old age of 70s, 80s, 90s, I don't know, in these days it's even lesser now, it's come to 50s. So many people are not able to sustain beyond 50 at some time.
Oh my
you know
God. Yeah.
so when they reach that age, they actually think, what is the impact that I have made in the world? Or it doesn't have to be the whole world, but what is the impact that I have in my own circle of people? What have I done to help shift or help them grow in some way or the other, to empower them? You see, so that is the reason why a lot of people started thinking on servitude, how their existence can help another person's existence, to empower them to grow from there, and how to reach higher areas or levels or bring other people along with them. That's why I really resonated with what Cardella has done with iOS and Rise and Together We Will Thrive, So I really appreciate that. And that is one of the things that pulled me along, because it was the emphasis of coming together. Because if I actually take it for a split second, if I actually think in terms of energy, now we may all come from different religions, castes, backgrounds, nationalities, and all of that. But from every ancient scripture, one thing is always steadfast in every ancient scripture, is that we are all coming from one source. So if we are all coming from one source, why do we consider us different from each other?
Very true.
Yeah. So if we all come from one, why do we consider us different? So it is up to us to understand this higher understanding that only by helping people around us do we all actually rise together. Because I'm helping another version of me, you are helping another version of you, I'm helping another version of me as well. Exactly. We are all from the same energy source, but we are all unique in our own way. So that is from Asli. You see, we are also unique. So another thing what I would do or explain this is, say, for example, if I have this paper, so if we consider this as source, right? Or that one energy source that we've all come from, and we have split it apart. So I've split. So this is my energy, it's unique to me. So say if someone else has come apart, they are unique. This is their energy and it's unique to them. Are these two looking the same?
No.
No. So we all have our uniqueness and our individuality. At the same time, we are all connected to each other as well, right? So we vibrate, that's why for me, in order to look at somebody with like as if they're different or as my competitor or as someone who is different from me in terms of religion, caste, and all of these things, I find it a bit awkward because we all come from the same place. And if that is our belief from ancient times, then this is something I believe that I'm just helping other versions of myself.
I guess what we have to do is continue to have that perspective to help others or to show them that there are people like us who, because it's still a lot of women, still a lot of people are lacking into that, considerations and.
Yes, and that is how we, like, say for example, now I am from India, and I will talk about this even in terms of the ego. If we like, I don't know if a lot of y'all have heard, but y'all must have heard of Mahatma Gandhi, right? Now he was an individual who was just a normal regular person. He was a normal regular person, and if he had to believe that his one voice was not loud enough or would not make an impact, he would have never voiced his voice. He would have never done what he did. He got the whole India out of that whole, what you call it, entanglement with the British and all of that colonization. After it being in that taken over for 100 years, he made India independent again, right? So imagine if he had to think that his voice was not important, we wouldn't have had a free nation. So same way, one voice is important. So if I'm talking the same thing, if Cardella is talking the same thing, if Rowena talks the same thing, if Asli talks the same thing, if all of us talk of connectedness, imagine how big that voice is going to be.
Yeah, true.
Right? And imagine
agree.
the impact that it's going to make in the whole world. It will spread like live fire. And that is something that is my own personal goal, to help people understand that we are actually all connected. We are unique in our own way, and we have to bring our uniqueness to the table. So there's no point of having ego mindsets, because ego mindsets considers you separate from someone else, that you are different from someone else, that you are better than someone else. But in reality, we are just unique.
Yeah. And yes, same as yourself, Ashley. Ashley is a best like supporter to all of us. She doesn't probably realize that, but every time she send us a quote or kind messages, it feels like we are here to really support each other, and so it gives you an energy or a fuel to do something more, because like all of us, as what you said, we are unique in some other ways, but people are very good in labeling, like you are just Filipino, you are just an Indian, you are just something like that. Why would I listen? But if we continue to show the love and the support that we're giving to others, maybe we can take those
yes, of course. And I truly
mindset
agree
out
with
from
you.
that. The
Yes.
mindset is always the problem.
Yeah, of course. That's why for me, these topics of mindsets are very important. And once people are start becoming aware of the mindset that they have, they start shifting it. See? Because if they are not aware of it in the first place, they wouldn't know how to solve a solution if they don't think there is a problem in the first place. So when we come from there, so when you're connecting with people as well, another tip to give you, connect with the aim to, when you're communicating with people, communicate with the aim to connect, and not with the intent to impress them. Because if you are going to connect with them to impress them, it's not going to work. You have to actually communicate with them to connect with them, to connect with their mindset, with their thoughts, with their love, their passions, their likes, their dislikes, and they will come back to you. Yeah. So goals are more important towards a state of being. If you actually shift your goals that says, what are my goals? I actually want to live my life in a more happier, content, peaceful state. And then you open up your universe you open yourself up to the universe and say, okay, I want this in my life. I want happiness. I want joy. I want love in relationships in my life. I want abundance in health. I want abundance in wealth. I want all of these things. And then you open yourself up to the universe and you say, guide me. The universe starts aligning all of those things, and it actually starts guiding you towards doing those things. So say your goal is to be happy and to have an abundance of wealth as well, because wealth brings in freedom of choice. Now, freedom of choice wealth is not about happiness. Wealth is just to have the ability to have freedom of choice. Whatever you wish to want in your life, you have the ability to choose it because you have wealth with you. So this is something to always keep in your mind as well. Wealth, when you want to attract wealth, you have to actually think from a place, I want to have freedom of choice. Because the people who don't have money, they are the ones who lack choices. Right? So that's another way of how to bring in abundance in your life. Another thing is, you do not require validation from people around you. Don't look at having validation, because your beliefs, your perspectives are defined by the unique experiences that you have had in your life, not by somebody else. Somebody else would not be able to validate what you have in your perspective. So be true to yourself, honor yourself, value yourself. So if you have a particular perspective on a particular thing, it's because of the experiences that have shaped you. And no other person in life is going to be able to validate it for you, because no experiences are identical. They're always individual. Yes? So do not look for validation. That's another tip to go around. So sometimes we as people, we always look, oh, is my boss going to be happy or is he going to be sad? No, don't. You've done the best job that you can. You've done what you could. Maybe there are things that you could improve on, but reflect on it. Be honest with yourself. Use your honest voice when talking to yourself, when you're reflecting. Another thing that you can do is to basically, the other thing is, which I want to talk a lot about, is called the spiritual ego trap as well. So as we are going further and further in our journey, it is, we have so many lessons we have learned. We have so many things that we have evolved from. We have so many experiences that have kind of brought us out of from where that stuck position is to our growth experience. So when we meet somebody who is still on their learning journey, who hasn't reached to where we are right now, we should not look down upon them. All right? We have to always come from a place of compassion.
Support them as well.
Exactly. So when I say support people, a lot of people think, oh, in order to support someone who is over here on their learning journey and I'm over here, I have to come down and support them. No, that is not helping them in any way, because you're meeting them at their comfort zone. In order to support them, you have to help them rise up to your level. You shouldn't go down, because that's meeting them at their comfort zone. The only way they will rise and learn is to push them out of their comfort zone and tell them, if you want to be where I am, you have to make it hard. You have to work on it. You have to work on yourself. So when you start valuing that and you start pulling them up, you don't devalue yourself in the process. Right? So always look at how you can raise a person's energy levels or raise their learning journey, raise them up to a higher level of their learning journey by bringing them up, not by you going down to help them. That's another mistake a lot of people make when they try to help others, And do not belittle anybody's experiences, because this is another thing. Their experiences, no matter how small or big, it made an impact in their life. It made a huge impact in their life. So never belittle anybody's experiences, and do not try to compare your experiences with theirs, because your experiences are unique to you. Another thing an egotistical person tends to do is they compare experiences with each other. They had a car accident. Oh, even I had a car accident. It was a trolley, it was a truck, it was a this, it was a that. No, when they're talking about their experience, hold space for them. Hold space and listen to them, because they are coming to you to open up to you, to connect with you. But if you start making it a comparison, they will close back again. They will close their side of the journey. Because they believe that they will come from a place saying, oh my God, this person has gone through so much, and I with such a small thing, small accident, and I'm making such a big thing. They start actually doubting themselves. Don't do that. You have to empower people. So when someone is coming and sharing information with you, be open to receiving it. Hold space. Holding space is one of the most difficult things that a person can do at times, because everybody has their own unique voice. Everybody has their own unique experience. But holding space means allowing that individual to have that certain time frame by you giving it to them, allowing them to shine in their own time. You can speak about your experience much later on. That's fine. But when they are expressing their point of view, hold space for them. Do not look at comparing. Do not look at trying to compete. Who's got the more depressing situation, or who's got the most exciting situation? It can be both ways. Hold space. This is another important tool for us to understand, is we have to hold space for people. And yeah, I think I've pretty much covered a lot of these tips that I have written down to just to break free from the ego trap, either for yourself or either from the people around you, how to communicate with them, how to connect with them, and how to use these little techniques to bring their guards down lower and lower. Because when we start looking at people as other versions of ourselves, I'm just helping another me. So if I come from that space, I would want to help me from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the good insight. And yeah, it's very interesting topic, which everyone has to deal with. What do people have to consider in order to avail your service?
Well, in order to avail the services that I offer, it's basically any individual who feels that they are stuck in life, or they feel that they are in a repeated hamster wheel of a pattern, and they're not able to get out of that. So may it be in their personal life, may it be in their professional life. Now, I do it in two ways, either one-on-one sessions, because some people want their privacy, and sometimes I do it in group sessions because it forms a bit more cost effective for people when it's done in a group. There is a lot more sharing, there is a lot more giving. So this is what I basically do. And even from a corporate standpoint, I go into companies, especially when entrepreneurs have identified or CEOs have identified that certain departments have been stuck because of a low feeling of low morale. They kind of bring me in as well. So this is another service that I provide to the corporates. So yeah, if you feel that you need any kind of guidance into shifting a mindset and evolving from it, then that is how you can connect with me and with Chi in Balance.